I've spent my life chasing stories that live in the shadows. The whispers of disappearances, the echoes of haunted places, and the dark secrets buried in small towns. But no story ever gripped me like the rumors swirling around the remote mountain village of Briar Hollow. They say that every October, the villagers hold an ancient festival called the Feast of Shadows. Outsiders are rarely invited, and the few who do attend, sometimes they just don't come back. The whole thing felt chillingly familiar. It reminded me of the real-life mysteries I'd spent years researching. The 9 experienced hikers who perished under bizarre circumstances at Dyatlov Pass, the entire Roanoke colony that vanished without a trace, or even the tragic, baffling case of the Yuba County Five. These were all stories where ordinary people walked into a situation and simply disappeared, leaving behind a trail of facts that blurred into horrifying legend. I had to know what was happening in Briar Hollow. I had to see it for myself. Posing as a travel writer, I managed to get an invitation. It wasn't easy. The village was isolated, cut off from the modern world by winding mountain roads and a thick veil of suspicion. As I drove into Briar Hollow, an unnatural quiet hung in the air. Houses were boarded up, windows like vacant eyes. The few people I saw on the street would turn their heads, their glances sharp and unwelcoming. Whenever I mentioned the festival, a sudden, heavy silence would fall. It was like those clannish villagers you read about in rural folklore places, so tight-knit and steeped in superstition that they become hostile to any outside influence. The night of the feast arrived, and the entire village gathered in the central square. The air was thick with the smell of wood smoke and something else, something heavy and metallic. Long, rough-hewn tables were laden with food, roasted meats of a dark, unidentifiable origin, loaves of black bread, and pots of thick, bubbling stew. But what truly unsettled me were the empty chairs. At every single table, 1 or 2 chairs were left vacant, a perfectly set place waiting for a guest who would never arrive. It was a haunting echo of the vanishing village legends, where the missing are honored in silence, their names never spoken aloud. As the moon climbed higher, the villagers pulled on black, hooded robes, their faces disappearing into shadow. They began chanting in a guttural dialect I couldn't understand, their voices rising and falling in a hypnotic rhythm. That's when I noticed the photographs. Pinned to the back of each empty chair was a faded, blurry picture. Men, women, even children, their faces frozen in time. Some had vanished from the village decades ago, their disappearances officially unexplained, becoming just another local ghost story. The sight reminded me of the real, heartbreaking case of the Soddard children, who vanished from a house fire in 1945. Their parents never gave up hope, plastering their faces on billboards for years, their fate remaining a cold, haunting mystery to this day. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was missing a crucial piece of the puzzle. While the villagers were lost in their ritual, I slipped away from the square and made my way toward the old chapel on the hill. It was a decrepit, stone building that the locals seemed to avoid, especially after dark. Inside, the air was stale and cold. Dust motes danced in the slivers of moonlight cutting through the grimy windows. My attention was drawn to the altar. Beneath a tattered rug, I found it, a locked trapdoor, its iron hinges scratched and worn down from years of use. I pressed my ear to the wood and heard it a faint, desperate whimpering from below. My heart pounded against my ribs. I worked the lock, forcing it open with a groan of rusted metal. A blast of cold, damp air rushed up, carrying a smell of earth and decay. I switched on my phone's flashlight, its beam cutting into the inky blackness. It revealed a narrow, hand-dug tunnel. The walls were lined with old family portraits, children's toys, and other personal trinkets tokens of the missing, left behind like the memorials at Dyatlov Pass or the cryptic carvings at Roanoke. This wasn't a crypt, it was a shrine to the lost. Suddenly, I heard footsteps on the chapel floor above me. Someone was coming. I quickly killed my light and ducked into a small alcove, holding my breath. I heard 2 villagers speaking in low, hushed tones. The pact must be honored, one of them whispered. The shadows grow hungry. We feed them, and they leave us in peace for another year. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. The whimpering I'd heard, The empty chairs, the photographs. It all clicked into place with sickening clarity. This wasn't a festival of remembrance. It was a cover for an annual sacrifice. The vanished outsiders, the missing villagers, they weren't just unfortunate accidents. They were offerings. The entire community was complicit in a pact with some ancient ancien terror, feeding it victims to keep it at bay. It was the same terrifying logic seen in real-world cults, like the Anthill Kids, or the Order of the Solar Temple, where charismatic leaders twist mythology and fear into a justification for unthinkable violence. I knew I couldn't stay. I had to get out. Under the cover of pre-dawn twilight, I scrambled out of the tunnel and ran. I didn't stop until I was back in my car, speeding away from Briar Hollow as the first rays of sun touched the cursed mountain peaks. The villagers were still in the square, completely unaware that their darkest secret had been discovered. When I went to the authorities, they listened to my frantic story with polite disbelief. A team was sent to investigate, but they found nothing. The villagers denied everything, their faces perfect masks of innocence. The tunnel beneath the chapel, it had been completely filled in, as if it had never existed. The case was dismissed. It was written off as an overactive imagination fueled by local superstition, just another urban legend. My story became another whisper in the dark. But I know what I saw. I know what I heard. And every year, when autumn rolls in and the nights grow long, I can't help but wonder what really lies beneath that old chapel. I wonder if the Feast of Shadows is truly over, or if it's just patiently waiting for its next guest. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy exploring the dark corners of the world, do not forget to like this video and subscribe for more stories that blur the line between fact and fear. Stay safe. Out there.